So I read both of your pieces yesterday about why stats don't matter and why they do. And I thought Kevin did a really good job explaining that there's an appetite for this stuff. Maybe we don't always need to meet it. I think you actually made this point to a degree, but I will submit to you guys that Elliott Shore-Parks, so I know has been a frequent target of Crossing Broad and some of our content over the years. I actually sort of tip my cap to him. And I know that you more or less did this, but I would argue that Elliott does a fantastic job at creating content that he knows is going to get engagement. Like, I think that he plays a little bit of a bit. Like, does he go to NovaCare every day in July and the beginning of August and say, man, I really need to see Jalen Hurts hit 18 to 22 today to know that he's had a good camp? I don't think he thinks that at all. I think he knows that he's going to be able to do this, go on Twitter, get 1,700 likes, 400 retweets, and become the it guy of the Eagles beat. Whereas people that are a little bit more sensical aren't willing to do that. They're not willing to do that to their own brand. Like, I'm an established reporter. I'm a veteran guy. This is a joke. I would never in a million years do that shit. Elliott's like, oh, I'll do it. And to him, it's worked. He's got a massive Twitter following. People don't necessarily always respect what he says on WIP, but they sure as hell tune in, which is why he's always on. I mean, WIP wouldn't be sticking him on air all the time if people weren't engaged by it. So I actually tip my cap to Elliott and think that he's playing it the right way because he's become at the front of this beat for better or for worse.
Yeah, that guy doesn't care about getting ratioed. Are you going to hang up and listen?
I will hang up and listen. Thank you.
Bob just drops a bomb on us then.
I mean, I can't wait to hear you guys talk about it because that's really my sense of it. So I'm really interested to see how you guys.
There's a reason there's a guy on ESPN getting paid $10 million. See, Bob, there's a reason Stephen A makes $10 million a year because I don't think Stephen A believes everything he says, but he has he has a lot of points to back it up. He has he will yell over you to prove his point if he has to. I think in a way, and I think it actually takes not necessarily balls, but it is tough to get ratioed on Twitter so consistently and be able to keep coming back because it does. I don't care if you're the strongest mentally human being in the world. Hearing you suck, for 340 days out of the year does take a toll on you.
I guess, but like you got to give people credit for having a thick skin to like not give a shit if people dislike what you're doing or what you're not doing. That's why I always try to make it clear that, when we criticize Angela or we, criticize training camp stats or whatever, like we always try to give people credit for like carving out a role and carving out a niche and sticking to it. I think what Angelo does sucks. But I also give him credit for the longevity and being able to do that and having an identity and finding that voice and carrying that voice for 30 years of ratings domination,
Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it. I don't think you could do it. I would hate myself if I came on Crossing Broad and just fabricated shit.
Oh, yeah. If I did disingenuous bullshit, I think, and I'm not saying like that's me talking about Angela. I think what Elliott does is fascinating because, it's like obviously there's an audience for that stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like, you can, shit on it all you want or say this isn't important or that's not important, but people are consuming it. They talk about it on WIP and they take the stuff that he reports and the stats that he talks about. And they make that a large part of their off-season shows, which is why I made the comparison the other day to like a supply and demand kind of thing. I mean, look, man, I got to tell you, like the Eagles pay everybody's bills in this market. Mm-hmm. Anybody who works in sports. So there's 24/7, 365 demand for the Eagles. Is there always supply to plug in that demand? No, not always. I mean, we're in this season. You got press conferences, you got good storylines, you have real game film to go over. Sure, you can plug it in easily, but there's a huge void, a huge demand in late July and early August because people are getting itchy, and so Elliott and other guys fill it in with what they see at camp, and it may not be that important, but like the void's got to be filled with something. And people consume that, man. I mean, you look at his tweets. I don't want it to be just an Elliott thing either, too, because it's not. I mean, I see like a New York Giants guy, saying how many passes Daniel Jones, completed at training camp. So it's definitely goes beyond Philadelphia, but I think it's just a product of supply and demand. It's more of a macro level question of like, does this supply matter? They've got like a formula that really, really works for them, and you got to give people credit whenever they stumble onto some kind of routine that works, but. You can ask whether it matters and whether people give a shit or not. It's probably not that important, but hey, more power to him. That's why I say it's not about you don't hate the player, you hate the game, right? I'll give you a good example, actually. Sarah Todd from the Inquirer was down to the Sixers like 4 years ago or 5 years ago during preseason. She just shot like a clip of a couple shots or something, and like Robert Covington and some other guys hit like 1 out of like 5 3-pointers, and then it went viral on Twitter. Is just like, these guys can't hit shit, you know? But it was just like an innocuous like video clip. It wasn't meant to say anything, but the players got pissed off about it. You know, like, why are you showing this like, you know, cherry picked clip of us missing a bunch of shots? That wasn't like her intention or whatever. It's just like, hey, we're out here. Here's some video. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe players, maybe they don't, but maybe they look at it like, hey, why is, you know, some guy charting every single pass that we're throwing? Like, you know,
I'm sure.
is it overly scrutinized to the point where it's harmful?